What's up everybody, Matt Maran here for another weekly update. So there's lots of exciting news to go over here this week. And before I get into the news here this week, I first want to mention I'm going to be doing my usual weekly live stream here, but I'll be doing it on Saturday. Not going to compete with the Super Bowl, so I'm going to do it on Saturday instead at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So join if you can. It's always a great time hanging out and talking cars with all of you. But getting into the news here this week, lots of exciting stuff here, lots of really cool performance vehicles that debuted, and we even have some multiple news stories about wagons. I think this is the most wagon coverage I've ever had in one weekly update, so stay tuned for all that here. But first, getting into the first news here, we now know the reveal date for the 2025 Dodge Charger, thanks to Automotive News here. So they attended the J.D. Power Auto Summit here, where a senior vice president of Dodge and SRT sales and marketing said that March 5th is when they will fully debut the new Charger, and it sounds like it's only going to be the electric one that we see at first. We'll have to see, how much further behind the gas version is here, but shouldn't be too far behind because I believe they're both going to be debuting here this year, and we already have seen that there's trial production of the gas one and all that, so it shouldn't be too far behind. But anyway, the executive also gave us a few interesting tidbits here on the new Charger here. So first he said, as far as, again, specifically the electric version, he said, we're not going for the lowest drag coefficient. We're not going for the highest mileage. We're going to truly set a new bar. And so I'm guessing he's talking about quarter mile times and performance and all that, obviously, since the whole justification for this switch, according to the marketing team at least, is the performance made them do it. So I'm expecting, really mind-blowing performance numbers here. The last thing he also added is that the Fratsonic chambered exhaust is still happening on the production car, which is a sound generator, not a speaker, they said, a sound generator connected to physical pipes to produce sound on this electric vehicle. But he said that it's just as loud as today's Hellcat, meaning it'll hit 126 decibels. And so, I mean, that is really loud. And I gotta just, again, commend them for going that bold with it. And I'm actually really excited to see how it plays out. It might be really cringy and terrible. It might be awesome. And I just love the creativity, the willingness to take a risk here. And we will see, how it plays out. But very excited for this new Charger, and very excited that supposedly we have less than a month to wait here for the full reveal, which is awesome. Chrysler has also teased a new forward-looking concept vehicle that will be fully revealed here just next week, so even sooner. And the first teaser image here doesn't reveal much aside from what might be a new Chrysler logo. And Chrysler isn't saying much so far, only that it provides an advanced look at one potential path of the brand's all-electric future. So I'll cover the vehicle in next week's update, but since they're saying it's a concept vehicle and it's very forward-looking, that means it's probably not going to preview any kind of production thing, but we will have to wait and see, what they end up saying about it and all that. But anyway, interesting to see that. Mini has finally revealed the gas-powered versions of the Cooper and Cooper S here for this new generation for the 2025 model year, after debuting the electric version 5 months ago. Finally, they're like, all right, fine, here's the info on the gas version. So most of the same styling carries over here from the electric version, with a few notable changes, mainly the return of the black plastic cladding and the ordinary door handles, which are two things that were lost on the EV version. There's also unique wheels, and on the inside, it's the same too, aside from the cup holders for some reason being relocated from the transmission tunnel area to the base of the dashboard. And as far as powertrains go, Mini still isn't telling us the specs for the base Cooper, but they did confirm that it'll get an upgrade from the 3-cylinder turbo in the old Cooper to a 2-liter turbo 4 even in that base vehicle, which is a nice upgrade. The S version continues to use the 2-liter turbo 4 as well, but it gets a power bump of 21 horsepower and 15 pound-feet of torque for totals now of 201 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque. It drops the 0 to 60 time by just 0.1 second to 6.3 seconds now. And sadly, like was previously reported, it appears to be automatic only for the first time ever, although there was no mention given at all about what transmission it's using, period. It'll likely continue to use an 8-speed automatic, but I'm still keeping my fingers crossed for maybe a manual to return for this generation, especially with the loosening up of those EU standards. Maybe they will find it in their heart, especially since I think the take rate for Minis for the manual was like close to 50%, if I remember correctly. So you know, it would actually probably be in their best interest to, you know, reverse course and bring that manual back, you know, especially since there's no pressure there really anymore for the fuel economy thing for, you know, the foreseeable future here. So we'll have to see. But anyway, the S is going to be arriving first with production starting in March, followed by the regular Cooper production in July. The base Cooper will start at $29,945, including destination, which is over $3,000 more expensive than the old one. But again, you are getting a bigger engine, so I guess there's that. But the Cooper S also gets a similar price bump of over $3,000 more now, starting at $33,195, including destination. And again, I'm assuming some of that price bump is also the fact that the automatic standard, which I believe was an extra cost option before. So, you know, not insane price increases, but, you know, increases nonetheless. In some other mini news here, the final Clubman rolled off the line in Oxford this week, and so sad to see it go. Such a cool little car, and all that Mini's going to be offering to replace it is the Countryman, which is huge, and then the new Aceman EV, which is supposed to slot in between the Cooper and the Countryman. But it's going to be only electric and, you know, isn't quite as quirky as the Clubman is. And so I'm going to actually give a toast to the Clubman because it's, I mean, you know, you had like little bread van doors in the back of it, and just, you know, it just was a fun, quirky little thing. And I mean, they're pretty good cars. My brother-in-law actually has one of the newest ones here. He got this last model year before they went away, and he loves it. It seems like a really cool little car. It sounds great. It's quick. And so it's really a shame that they've decided to kill it off with no successor. But, you know, thanks to Mini for adding some quirkiness to the world and with a Clubman there. And, yeah, hopefully we will see more quirkiness in other forms in Minis in the future. But cheers to the Clubman. And we have more to cheers this week because another quirky car that's getting discontinued here sooner than we thought actually was the Volkswagen Arteon. So we had heard that it was going away after 2024 here. And Volkswagen had originally planned to do a 2024 model year vehicle, going so far as even announcing it in a press release, releasing updated pricing, and also announcing that the base trim was going to be dropped. So they had like multiple plans here going, but CarScoops discovered that there was a leaked dealer memo that there will be no 2024 Arteon at all, and that the remaining 2023 stock that's already left is all that they're going to have. There's no 2024s whatsoever. It even got killed off early in Europe, with Europe strangely still having the shooting brake version available on the European site, but not the regular Arteon. So yeah, they like really were like last minute, like, all right, let's just kill it for whatever reason. Again, we knew it was on its way out to make room for the ID7, but it had been assumed that this would, you know, last at least for this last model year here. But anyway, so here in the U.S., that means that the only Volkswagen sedan available for 2024 is the Jetta. And then, yeah, there's nothing. I think the ID7 is coming late this year, so that's not even going to be till the 2025 model year. And so, yeah, it's a shame, you know, the Arteon has to go. And it's a shame that the Arteon never sold well. I think they said this final model year, or in the 2023 model year here, they only sold 2,349 of them. And that was actually, I think, double what it was the prior year. So they were gaining a little bit of momentum there towards the end. But, you know, I think the problem with the Arteon, I talked about this in my review, but, you know, it was basically the same price as a Stinger. The Stinger was on a rear-wheel drive-based platform, had more power, arguably better looks in my opinion as well. That's subjective, but, you know, just was a more dynamic car. You had the twin-turbo V6 available in that. I mean, I like the Arteon. I just spent time with one last year. I still really like it. In a vacuum, it's a great car as long as you don't look at the competitors. It was just kind of overpriced for what it was, I think, even though it was a very nice car and really felt like a budget Audi in a lot of ways. But, yeah, it's a shame that it had to go. Anything with a large hatch, I'm always sad to see it go. So, cheers to the Arteon. I think it deserved better, but it is what it is. And there's one other vehicle we need to give a cheers to here this week. And this was something that was actually announced a couple of years ago, but many people probably forgot about it. I know I forgot about it. And it's just that due to the new safety regulations that we knew were coming for Europe, the 2024 model year will be the last for the Toyota GR86 and the Subaru BRZ. Both companies had always planned for Europe to only have basically like 2 years of production there for Europe. So this is something they knew was coming. They warned everyone ahead of time. You're only going to get it for 2 years. And so, you know, hopefully everyone was able to snatch them up here, and we'll be able to continue to snatch them up, you know, at some point here this year before they go away for good. But, Yeah, so just to remind you as far as why, I mean, because it shouldn't be a shock to anyone, especially European fans of the cars, but, it's still really sad. Unfortunately, according to Toyota, the car would have to be completely re-engineered to pass the regulations, and according to an article in the official Toyota UK magazine, the changes needed would be detrimentally affecting the dynamic character of the car, and that it simply wouldn't be the driver's car everybody knows and loves. So, it's a shame that's the case, and they're not able to find a workaround. But this is also what's killing off the Alpine A110 is going away this year for the same reason, as is the current generation Porsche Macan, due to a cybersecurity section of that law that I guess they're not updating the tech in the Macan to accommodate that, and so it's also getting killed off kind of last minute. I don't think even Porsche fully expected this, but so very interesting. But like, strangely, the Miata has somehow managed to skirt all of that stuff, and it seems like Mazda actually confirmed the Miata will stick around in Europe. So I guess all these new safety things the Miata already had accounted for, or just got lucky, because I don't think they made any changes. Certainly no changes that compromise the vehicle like Toyota is claiming you'd have to do for their stuff. So I don't know how a Miata is able to do something that would compromise a GR86 or BRZ. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's a good reason behind the scenes, but on the surface here, it just seems odd that a Miata can pass this and a GR86 can't. But anyway, it is what it is. It's already been, a done deal here. And so if you love the vehicle in Europe and, you haven't gotten one yet and you want to get one new, the clock is ticking. Grab one while you can here. So still a shame though, and so cheers to the GR86 and BRZ in Europe, and glad they offered it, but always sad to see any fun performance vehicles go over there. And the Chicago Auto Show here is this week, and it's a pretty dead show this year, to be totally honest. Very little going on, very few debuts. It's like actually the most dead auto show schedule I've seen ever. But anyway, Kia has shown off two US versions of vehicles that we already saw debut back in the fall. Just refreshes even. We saw them debut in Korea back in the fall. And that's the refreshed K5 and the Carnival. I'll try and be brief here, but first with the K5, it gets new lights and bumpers front and back, along with the new 12-inch screens on the inside, like we've seen in the other new Kias. And thankfully, it also does get the new wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto capability here as well. And the rest of the dash and the center console gets a redesign too. And possibly the bigger change, though, is that Kia is going against the trend to downsize engines, and they're throwing out the 1.6-liter Turbo 4 and replacing it with their naturally aspirated 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine instead as the base engine. And while it's down by 4 pound-feet of torque to 181 pound-feet, horsepower actually goes up by 11 to 191 horsepower now. It's paired to an 8-speed automatic and is available with all-wheel drive in the GT line version as well if you don't want just front-wheel drive. The full-blown GT returns thankfully and is all carryover with the turbo 2.5-liter with 290 horsepower and 311 pound-feet of torque, running through an 8-speed dual clutch to the front wheels only. Still no all-wheel drive, still no limit slip diff for that one. Would have been nice to see at least them throw in the LSD from, the end products or something to help that one be a little bit sportier. But there's also more standard features now, and that means pricing should probably go up, but we don't have any updated pricing for these yet, or a release date for that matter, but it should be coming fairly soon. I believe Sonata's going to be here. I think it's actually already at dealers, just started showing up, so I think, this should be following very closely behind. So interesting to see that. As for that 2025 Carnival, it gets a similar refresh with a new front end and back end, new wheels, a new dark package, along with the double 12-inch screens and the new HVAC panel beneath it that we've seen in the other Kias. You can still get it with the V6, and that's still the most powerful option, but the biggest news for the Carnival here is a new hybrid version that uses the same setup as the other Kia hybrids, meaning a 1.6-liter Turbo 4 with a 72 horsepower electric motor attached to it and a 6-speed automatic. Unfortunately, though, it only powers the front wheels here, even though you can get all-wheel drive in the hybrid and other models within Kia and Hyundai Group, so I'm not sure why they decided to do front-wheel drive only, because the Sienna offers all-wheel drive, and the Sienna is still going to be the only hybrid all-wheel drive option, and it seems like Kia just like handed the ball to Toyota when they have all the parts. Like, why not do an all-wheel drive version of the Carnival here? It just seems kind of strange. Same thing with the V6. You would think an easy thing to add, considering the Pacifica offers that as well. But anyway, the hybrid here does 242 horsepower and 271 pound-feet of torque, and there's no fuel economy estimate for it yet, but it should be in the mid to high 30s, I'm guessing, and it'll be arriving this summer, but there's no pricing for that one yet either. And Porsche has revealed the refreshed 2025 Taycan and Taycan Cross Turismo this week, and while they don't look that different, they do get some really big improvements. So first, for the styling, it gets flatter front fenders and new headlights, along with this slightly tweaked bumpers and a new taillight bar that can have an illuminated Porsche logo in it as an option. I still think it looks awesome, especially that green wagon with the gold wheels. Whew, sign me up for that one. That just gets me giddy looking at it. Anyway, on the inside, it gets mostly the same stuff, but they say that all the screens have been slightly redesigned, and you can now get a Race Tex microfiber and houndstooth cloth combo. The more impressive changes, though, are under the skin. There's a new rear motor and an improved pulse inverter, and combined with better thermal management, the top Turbo S version gets a 187 horsepower boost to 938 horsepower now when using the launch mode, which drops the 0 to 60 time for the Turbo S by 0.3 seconds down to just 2.3 seconds for this thing, making it, according to Porsche, the quickest production Porsche ever made. And I believe if you go for the wagon, it only drops by 0.1 seconds, so I think it's 2.4, which means that one of the fastest accelerating cars in the world is a wagon. Thank you, Porsche. Tons and tons of brownie points there for me for that. That is so awesome. Man, what a sick wagon. Adding that to the dream car wish list there. But so anyway, you can also tap into that max power for 10 seconds with a new push to pass feature in the Sport Chrono package. We don't have any specs for the lower versions just yet, but they did add that even a base Taycan gets a 0.6 second drop in its 0 to 60 time, now only taking 4.5 seconds even for a base Taycan. The battery also gets a significant improvement, going from a 93 kilowatt hour battery to a 105 kilowatt hour battery now, and it's able to now do crazy fast 320 actual kilowatt charging to do a 10% to 80% charge in about 18 minutes, which is pretty close to the time that they rated for the last battery. But again, that was only refilling a 93 kilowatt hour battery from 10 to 80%. This is doing it with 105, so a good bit more battery there, and still doing it in the same time thanks to that faster charging, which is impressive. Now, we don't have any kind of updated range numbers for this just yet, but I mean, it's, the range is going to be a lot better, and, hoping these motors are more efficient as well. But I mean, even if it's not, you still have the super fast charging that, by the way, is 100 kilowatts faster for its charge speed compared to the old Taycan, which is already one of the best charging vehicles out there. And I think maybe the Hummer EV beats it. I think some people have actually pulled down like slightly over 350 kilowatts from a Hummer EV, so that might still be the top, but I think this is going to be the Lucid and everything else, and is really like world class. It's really impressive stuff. It should also handle and ride better too, thanks to the Porsche Active Ride suspension now being available. That was first introduced last year in the Panamera, and supposedly it's a real game changer as well from what I've heard. It's supposedly so powerful that it doesn't even need the springs to keep the car upright. It's totally flat, and the springs are only there so that whenever you turn the car off, it doesn't just like land on the bump stops. so it's kind of crazy, and so that'll be very exciting, I'm sure, to try out someday. And even if you don't get this option, though, all Taycans now come with adaptive air suspensions as standard, and there's more standard equipment in general. This is part of why Porsche says the $8,845 base price increase is justified, with even a base Taycan now starting at $101,395, including destination, and a top Turbo S Cross Turismo coming in at $213,695, again before options. They'll begin arriving at dealers here this summer, but man, what a wild car, and one of the fastest accelerating things in the world, not just from Porsche, but in general. What else is faster than 2.3? Maybe a couple of the hypercars that are, pretending to claim, something around 2 seconds. I don't know if they actually do or not, but Basically, one of the fastest cars in the world is now a wagon, and that makes me very happy. So let me know what you think about that in the comments below. And some other awesome wagon news. Again, it's just really having a field day here. Audi has revealed the 2025 RS6 Avant GT. It's inspired by the GTO concept from 2020. It's self-inspired by the old Audi 90 IMSA GTO race car. It gets some pretty substantial changes here, including a new carbon fiber hood, carbon fiber fenders that are flared out, a new front lip, and more aggressive designs for the grille and bumper, along with a new rear wing, rear diffuser, side skirts, and even the tailgate has been modified. There's also various other carbon fiber trim, and the roof rails have been removed completely for the first time. The 22-inch wheels are also unique, and the interior is mostly microfiber, and there's these new RS bucket seats. It's not just about looking cooler, though, and weighing less. It also gets a sportier handling setup with adjustable coilovers that lower the car by 10mm, and there's also a retuning of the Quattro Sport differential. There's also the new Continental Sport Contact 7 tires for better grip, but otherwise, powertrain-wise, it's going to get the same powertrain carryover from the new performance version of those RS6s that we've seen, last year. But only 660 of these will be built, and they'll be hand-assembled by just 5 people. So I think those 5 people are sent, the basic RS6, and then all the unique stuff for this version gets added on by those people. But it's going to be a labor of love, clearly. And thankfully, we are actually getting this here, believe it or not. They said that we're only getting 85 of the 660, but hey, I'll take it. Better than nothing. Obviously, that'll make it a collectible that no one will actually drive, but hey, at least we're getting it. I'll take what I can get, So pricing for the US hasn't been revealed yet, but in Europe it'll be starting at 219,355 euros, which converts to about $236,000 here. They'll begin deliveries in the second quarter of this year, and yes, both of these wagons are wildly expensive and unobtainable for most of us. But cheers to these companies for bringing awesome wagons to the States and just bothering to invest in wagons. I'm so glad that there's enough interest here to at least do wagons in small numbers and make them super awesome. So cheers to those wagons. But the wagon news doesn't stop there, because for the final German wagon news here, BMW has revealed the new 5 Series Touring this week. Although this one is a little bittersweet because BMW isn't sending this one to the States. So sad trombone. But for those lucky folks elsewhere in the world, it's 3.8 inches longer on a wheelbase about an inch longer, along with being 1.3 inches wider and almost an inch higher than the last 5 Series wagon. Cargo space with the seats up is 20.1 cubic feet, which is in between the Audi and the Mercedes wagons roughly, and it's available with all the same powertrains as the regular 5 Series in Europe, from a 520D diesel all the way through the gas engines to the plug-in hybrid, and even the electric i5 for the first time you can get in a wagon here. And that will be the first one to arrive, with deliveries of those starting in Europe in May. And Lincoln has revealed the refreshed 2025 Aviator just 1 week after its sibling, the Ford Explorer, got its debut. So this one also gets a larger grille, new front bumper, and lights. Unlike the Explorer, though, nothing changes around the back of the Aviator here. There's new colors and wheels, though, and inside, like the other new Ford and Lincoln products, it also throws out the climate control buttons for screen controls instead, and that screen is also new, sharing that 13.2-inch screen with the Explorer and the new Google built-in software that's called Lincoln Digital Experience instead of Ford Digital Experience in the Explorer. But thankfully, like the Ford, it too retains wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. The 12.4-inch gauges also get new software for better CarPlay and Google integration as well. Blue Cruise now comes standard on the Aviator, and unlike the Explorer, which only gives you, I think, 3 months free, it's free for 4 years here in the Lincoln before you need to subscribe, and I'm assuming it'll be the same $800 a year subscription like the Ford after that. So not great, but at least if you're leasing one or having it a short time, you won't have to worry about that. Now, mechanically, it carries over the 3-liter twin-turbo V6 with the same 400 horsepower, but the 10-speed auto has been retuned to be smoother, they say. The plug-in hybrid version, unfortunately, isn't returning after being killed off last year, and Lincoln says this is due to a low 14% take rate for that one, and that's why. But, with everyone else talking about bringing back plug-in hybrids, this seems like a bad decision. I think if they could have found a way to make it a little bit cheaper and made it not so insanely powerful like it was, I think it might have been a little more appealing. But anyway, you now get an adaptive suspension as standard, but an air suspension is also still available in the upper trims. The starting price rises by about $5,000 to $59,890, including destination, but part of that is probably due to that Blue Cruise equipment being standard, and also there's a lot more standard features like captain's chairs, a panoramic roof, heated and ventilated seats, a heated steering wheel, All that stuff is standard now, which is nice for sure. And so ordering is going to be open already here, and the first 2025 Aviator should be arriving at dealers by the summer. So cool to see that. And for the last news story here this week, also Ford related. So Ford announced that they're working on a new low-cost EV platform that they say will underpin several types of vehicles, and that they made a bet in silence 2 years ago to work on affordable EVs. So maybe this means that Ford will finally backtrack and say, hey, we're open to sedans again. That would be very nice. I'm not expecting Ford to admit that they were wrong on the whole sedan killing off thing, but we'll see. I'm sure there'll be various different types of trucks and SUVs, and that'll probably be all they'll do. But it'd be nice to see some kind of little sedan, especially since they want to do something affordable. Like that, to me, seems like the great way to do something affordable is bring back a Fiesta or a Focus or something like that. Anyway. They're doing this low-cost platform, they say, because they say that higher prices are typically, when you survey people, that's the biggest barrier to EV adoption. A lot of people actually are interested in EVs, it's just that they're too expensive, and that's the main problem. So they're trying to fix that by bringing in these low-cost EVs here, and they didn't provide any kind of timeline for when we can expect these new models here, but the platform is already 2 years in the making. If they made this bet in silence 2 years ago, then that makes me think that maybe we could expect to see something around 2026 or something like that, which is around when all the other competitors, Toyota's talking about having next gen stuff in 2026. I think Nissan, a bunch of other companies are, it seems like that 2026 number keeps coming up as a target for a lot of people. So I'm thinking maybe Ford's going to try and, throw their hat in the ring there in 2026 as well. Could be later as well, it depends on how the development goes and all that. But supposedly about 2 years ago, they brought in one of the top Tesla development guys to spearhead this new electric project and all that. So, we will see how things work out. But anyway, yeah, be interesting to see how that plays out. But, it's great news to hear there's more affordable EVs coming from Ford. That's a great move, and I hope Chevy's paying attention here, because they're literally scrapping their affordable Bolt to make room for production for the Silverado EV that supposedly people seem to want, but like Ford's finding out with the Lightning, you're going to reach a point where there's only so many people that can buy $100,000 electric trucks before you run out of people to sell them to. So we'll see what happens, but anyway, I'd love to see the Bolt come back. But anyway, good to see that Ford is headed in the right direction, at least there. And lastly, I want to thank all of you that are members of the Maran Motoring Club. So we had a bunch of new members that were able to join this past week, thanks to very generous gifting by several different members here during the live stream last week. It was really a bunch of gifting going on. It was very, very great to see everyone just being so generous, and the community that we've built there with those memberships is really great. And so I want to give a big thank you to Nub J, Carlos Rojas, the Truck and Car Guy, Jordan Yeager, and Kyle for all of their generous gifting here during last week's live stream. And while many members were able to rejoin thanks to those gifts, I also want to welcome the many new members here that were able to join the Motoring Club for the first time. So big welcome here to Darian Kamada, Zachary, J-Win 1829, Cars and Relevant Specs, Liu Kang, Francis Bompong, Mike T, and Mr. Honda Mods. I also want to give a big special thank you here to Michelle Zhang for joining in on their own as well. And so I hope you're all enjoying those membership perks so far. And yeah, thank you all so much for all of your support. I hope you continue to stick around here after those gifting periods are over as well. And for anyone else that would like to join, become a member, get that priority answering in the live streams, as well as all the other membership perks here, there's always join buttons here on the video page, on the channel page, and also a link in the description. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on all this stuff in the comments below. Please also leave a like and subscribe to keep these videos coming, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, and cheers.